not going anywhere. We want to stay on this topic of the Jerry Sanusky verdict. Joining me this morning is SDSU lecturer Wendy Patrick, who also works in the Sex Crimes and Stalking Division here in San Diego. And you were just telling me you study people like Jerry Sanusky for a living. This is what you do. You find out what is going on in their head. Unfortunately, I know this has to be a very hard job for you, but this is what you do. What is it about this case that has been not only so twisted, but so unique and has made the world just kind of dropping their jaws and wanting to see every aspect of this case? What is it about it?
There is nothing that is unique about Jerry Sanusky as far as child molesters go.
So the unique part is that there is nothing unique.
And one of the interesting things about this case is it really, again, brings the focus onto the fact that you can't pick out a child molester. You can't always pick out a sexual predator. We have media stereotypes. We have public safety stereotypes. And then you find out that, sure enough, some of the most popular people in society, in fact, have been doing this for years. And that's what we're worried about, right, from an employment perspective, from a management perspective.
You making that comment almost makes me upset in a way, because I'm thinking, no, this should have been obvious. There were signs, but you're saying no, because this could have been anybody. We all could have, I mean, you could be living next door to one of these guys and not know it, right?
It's true, but one of the things we're focusing on now, as you point out, is that perhaps there were signs in a case like this. And that's why everybody now is shifting the focus to Penn State. What did they know? When did they know it? When should they have known it? Who are we going to potentially go after to say you didn't fulfill your mandated reporting duties based on what you saw in the locker room or in the shower? So now we're sort of seeing that shift of focus that lets us know that there are, in fact, some red flags that should have been obvious to some people.
Let's talk about those cases now that are starting to come to light a little bit. We haven't seen full-blown yet, but we are definitely hearing more and more cases coming forward now that against Penn State, that there should have been more done, and that there are important people that did know about this. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, that is what we look at when we're looking from an employment perspective, from a management perspective. There's this idea of motivated blindness, some people call it. Well, I've got this valued employee, he's famous, everyone loves him. I have some suspicions, but gosh, I don't want to be wrong. That is really what everybody is turning their attention to now. It is not, was he guilty? Clearly, the jury did not take very long to come to that decision, despite the amount of charges they had. I think one of the quotes from one of Sanusky's own lawyers was very telling, where he said if his client was acquitted on all charges, he thought he was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't that amazing? He made those
likening the case to climbing Mount Everest. That was another comment I liked. But okay, back to the employment perspective. If it was that obvious, if there were so many witnesses and so much evidence, why in the world wasn't there something that should have been seen before? And in fact, the question now is not whether there was something that should have been seen before, but why wasn't the eyewitness accounts of some of what was seen with these young boys reported earlier?
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question then, because I've thought about it myself with my husband at home. I'm sure many of you are thinking the same question. What on earth do you do? And I put it in this perspective. I was trying to get myself ready for this interview, and I was talking to my husband, and I said, what would we do, you and I, if we found out that one of our closest friends, one of our neighbors, one of our coworkers was at the level that Jerry Sanusky was? What would you do? What is the first thing you do? Because it is so hard, and you don't want to be wrong, and you don't want to go after something. Even if you have no proof in front of you, you feel in your gut that something's wrong, something's not right. What do you do?
Particularly after the verdict this week, people would be more inclined to report it, which is what they should do.
Do you call police right away? I mean, who do you call first?
They would report it to police. They would report it to supervisors. They would go up the chain of. They would go up the chain of command. They would follow policy, protocol, but they would say something to someone. Now, what's making the Penn State case very interesting, and not unique, again, because this has been going on for years. We just went through this with the whole Roman Catholic Church scandal. But what's making the Penn State case unique is their proactivity. In other words, they're not taking the pattern of deny, delay, and defend. They're actually going forth and saying, now we want to talk to the victims. We want to see if there's a way we can come up with a private but fair way to compensate the victims for what happened. And that's really on the mind of a lot of employers today, because we saw, gosh, we just saw last week what a sex abuse case could potentially be worth with the Jehovah's Witness sex case. You remember that? 7 million compensatory, 21 million punitives. We saw that with the Roman Catholic Church case. We saw that any one victim is potentially worth $500,000 up to several $1 million. So Penn State is really stepping up and taking a proactive stance into attempting to settle some of the cases that they already know are coming.
All right. Well, Wendy, I wish we could talk to you more about this, but obviously this is not going away. We're going to have her again on the show, folks, to talk about these Penn State cases, because I think that we can learn a lot from this to keep this from ever happening again.
We can.
Wendy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. All right.